Hi, this is Crazy Aunt Nay, and welcome to How to Calculate Tips. In this segment, we're going to cover a fast, easy way to calculate tips quickly and accurately in your head, with no need for a Ziosk or your phone. After we learn how to do it, we'll discuss why and when to do it. Not everything requires or is appropriate to tip for. Tipping for the wrong things can be more embarrassing than tipping for the right things. So let's get into it. All right. So this is going to look a lot like math, but don't panic and don't switch off. Stay with me. This is going to be fast and easy. If you grew up in government-run schools in the US, they taught you some weird Common Core nightmare math that makes no sense. I'm going to teach you a fast way to understand this. So let's start with an easy $100. This is how you are used to seeing monetary denominations written. This is a simple breakdown of $100. Each of these is a place for number values. To make this really easy, let's start with looking at this view. How much is this? If you said a penny, you are correct. Our currency is based on the dollar, which is why the dollar is in the one column. Anything less than a dollar is a portion of a dollar. You follow me? Like it takes 4 quarters to equal a dollar, right? How many pennies does it take to equal a dime? If you said 10, you are correct. So once we reach 10, we move to the next column over. How many dimes does it take to equal a dollar? If you said 10, you are correct. How many dollars does it take to make $10? If you said 10, you are correct. Feeling the theme here? How many $10 bills does it take to equal $100? If you said 10, you are correct. So knowing this, if we want to calculate 10% of a dollar value in our head, how would we do this? This is the easiest part. You simply move the decimal point one place to the left like this. The dollar amount you see is now 10%. The common baseline for tipping these days is about 20%. It used to be 15, but now it's typically closer to 20, which actually makes it easier. So now that we know what 10% is, how do we get to 20%? Just double it. You don't have to try and figure 15%. You can do this instantaneously in your head. Don't overthink it. Move the decimal, double what you see. Don't sweat the pennies. This doesn't have to be exact. It can be close enough. Let's try one that's a little more complicated. Most of you will probably not be tipping on hundreds of dollars, so we'll look at the hundreds column, but we'll also look at this as though it is only $26. So here we go. Move the decimal one space to the left. When you have amounts like this, as I said before, don't freak out about all the numbers just round in your head. Do you remember rounding? Just drop the cents, pretend they're zero, and make it whole numbers. So $26 would be about $2.60. And 326 would be about $32.60. So double it. Don't worry about the cents. You can think of 260 as being between $2 and $3. So then ask yourself, how is the service? If the service was great, round it up to $3. If it was round down, you're still just under 20%. But good tips need to be earned. So let's say it was great. We round up to 3, then double it to 6. Boom. Round up to 33, leave $66 as a tip. Easy day. If you round it in your head first, the additional math in your head is easier to do. So let's discuss when and why now. Why and when should we tip? Why and when should we round up and round down? All right, hello, this is Crazy Aunt Nay, and we're here to have a conversation with a member of Gen Z about tipping. So welcome, Eric. This is Eric. So you work in the service industry, correct?
Yes.
What capacity do you work?
Serving and bartending.
Serving and bartending at a restaurant?
Yes, at a restaurant.
Okay. So we're going to discuss the why and when we should tip in this segment. So let's start with the why, because not everything requires a tip, as well you know, right?
Yes.
Okay. So why, in your opinion, should people leave tips for service?
Because service workers that are in like the restaurant business specifically don't usually get paid hourly like the rest of workers do, like, a higher hourly. It's usually something lower because tips will compensate for what they're not getting paid for. So,
They expect tipping to be
Right.
part of your compensation.
right. Because if they didn't do that, you'd be making too much for what your job is.
Okay. And what do you think the purpose of a tip is?
Well, to show like how good you did, and as a thank you, because I'm, serving you, like being your servant. So,
Right. I agree. The purpose of a tip is, if you think of it as tipping for something to reward a service or a personal service. That's exactly what tipping is for. Exactly. So let's talk about the when. When is it appropriate to tip, and when should you not?
I think it's appropriate to tip if your, server or whatever it is did a substantial job. And if they did above and beyond and you're really happy with their service, you should tip more if you can. But
We're going to get into that in the why a little bit later. But so let me give you examples of when, like what types of service do you think should be tipped for? So I have a list here, but let's see if you get the same things. What are service areas you should tip for? Restaurant servers, massage therapists.
like
what else?
restaurant servers, massage, like tattoos or like valet or
I have
stuff
salon,
like that. Yeah,
hairdressers.
right. It's like personal things. Like if they're helping you personally with something, then I think that's like reasonable. to
Taxi
tip.
drivers,
Yeah, they're helping you get to somewhere. The salon's making your hair look nice,
pet groomers.
helping your pets look nice. Yeah. I think
What
that's good.
things shouldn't you tip for?
Things like fast food, like people are already getting hourly and they're not really doing anything besides their job.
They're just selling you a product, right? What
Right.
about drive-throughs?
No, that goes with fast food. Absolutely
Definitely
not.
not. Grocery store clerks?
No.
The clerks, not the guys loading your groceries in your thing, but the cashier.
No, definitely not.
Okay, why not?
Because they're just doing their job. They're not helping you specifically. They're just doing what they're there to do.
They're transacting
Like
a product.
they're not going out of their way to like help you with anything. They're just doing what they're supposed to be doing.
What about salespeople? They might seem like they're giving you a lot of service when they're trying to sell you
Well, it's
like a
'cause they're trying to sell you
car
something.
or something like that. So should you tip them for any of that?
No.
You know, they bring you water.
No.
Okay. Is there other examples of things you can think of that would not be appropriate to tip?
Not really.
Can you think of anything that would be awkward if you tipped? What
No.
about you, Angela? Can you think of anything? Awkward tipping. I didn't think about that one before, but I know there probably are things that it would be awkward if you tried to tip the person.
Probably any of those aforementioned. If someone's helping you out to the grocery store with your or out to your car with your groceries, and you try to hand them a tip, they might get confused and be like, "What? Why are you trying to tip me?"
But even weirder if you try and tip the cashier at the
Right.
thing, like, oh, here, this is for ringing up my stuff. Yeah, that's weird. So I don't know why all these drive-throughs are always handing you the little things wanting you to tip, because it's awkward. Okay, let's see. What factors should be considered when leaving a tip? So service type, service quality, what else?
I think honestly just your overall experience. Like let's say it's something like restaurant. If your food was bad, that's not really your server's fault. So if you tip less because of that, it kind of sucks for the server because it's not like it's their fault that your food was like not cooked to the right standard or whatever, unless they like typed something wrong in the system, and made it that way. But like if you said no onion and then they put onion, that's their fault. But if it's like
But if your server
the steak
handles
isn't
that,
rare enough or something, like that's not really their control.
if whether it's the onions or the rare steak, let's say that came to me and I'm mad my food didn't come out how I wanted it. What can you as a server do to help fix that situation? And should I tip higher or lower depending on what you do as a server in that
Yes.
situation?
Yes,
Okay.
I mean if you're like, oh well, do you mind, or like you could take them off. If you say something like that, obviously like, oh, definitely not. Like that's stupid. Why would you say that? But if you say something like, oh, sorry about that, I'll go get it fixed right away for you, get a manager over, or something like that, it's better. Like, de-escalate. Don't try to make them okay with what they got.
And in your opinion, based on how the server handles that, it should be a person tipping should take that into consideration.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, I agree with that. How about who is present for the occasion? Like, say you went out to a meal yourself versus with your girlfriend or your girlfriend's parents. Is there a difference? Or you're out for an occasion. Is there a difference, do you think, in what would be appropriate to tip?
Yes. So if it's, again, restaurant tipping, I think you should definitely tip more, like than, let's say, 20%. That's the normal, I feel like. You should, because the server will most likely be not taking other tables or, you know, dealing with their normal day-to-day kind of thing. They'll be like focusing on just you. You're getting their whole like attention and everything.
If it's a party, say,
Right.
like a big, like a
Right.
birthday or a graduation.
Right.
Or,
And if you don't tip what they would have made throughout the day, it kind of sucks. Like I've taken tables that are 20 people and then they tip below 20%, and I would have made way more if I didn't even take them. And I did way more work dealing with them than helping others.
That is a good point to make, yes.
Yeah.
So now you can calculate tips in your head like a pro. No generation before millennials required a device or an app to help them do simple life things they should have learned how to do for themselves, and certainly by now. Gen Z, you're better than that in every way. So let's keep learning the life hacks to help you be more sophisticated than the lemmingos. Get it? Lemming?